and welcome. I am here with Michelle of Heartstrings Jewelry. Michelle, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to have you here. And we thought we'd do something a little bit fun, a little bit different for the podcast at Christmas time so that we can share some ideas around Christmas gift giving. But before we do that, Michelle, can you let us know what is Heartstrings Jewelry all about, and what's the story behind that company?
So, Heartstrings Jewelry is about taking instrument strings that have been played. There's been love and joy and passion going through the strings. They've all been played, and then I make them into jewelry. So, I use guitar string, piano string, violin string. Those are sort of the main strings that I use.
Yeah. How did you get about starting to make jewelry out of strings, instrument strings?
So several years ago, I was gifted a bracelet that was a guitar string bracelet, but it basically looked like a grungy piece of guitar string just wrapped in a circle with some wire around it. And it was really cool, but it was, you know, kind of organic looking. And I started looking more closely at the instrument strings and guitar strings in particular, the colors of the strings, they pair with the colors of gold. So yellow gold, rose gold, and white gold, and piano string as well. It's got a copper wind on it, and so it as well pairs with rose gold. And I thought that this jewelry could actually be elevated into fine jewelry and combined with gold and combined with gemstones. And it's precious in its own way, and it's reclaimed. It's come from something beautiful, and it can be remade into something beautiful with more of the traditional jewelry materials and create something new and unique, um, but actually stands up along other fine jewelry. So that was my goal.
I love it.
And
And you're giving new life to something that's being well loved.
exactly.
That's so great. Were you a jeweler before you started Heartstrings?
I've always had an interest in jewelry and I've dabbled a little bit over the years, but actually I was an occupational therapist by like that was my original career, and so this is quite a shift. But I think just the innovation and the creativity that are involved in what I do are really the driving force for me. And also the fact that if you look around for guitar string jewelry, you won't quite see anything like the work that I'm doing. So it's kind of stands on its own right now, and so I'm pushing more in that direction.
Yeah, it's really unique. So I'm curious, how do you get the instrument strings? Do musicians send them to you? Are they, someone's piano has fallen in disrepair or a guitar has fallen in disrepair and then they give you the parts? How do you kind of come about getting those materials? Because you said all of them have been played before. I love that.
Yes. Well, it seems like every musician has a pile of guitar strings in their basement. And right now, you can't put guitar string into the traditional recycling. You can't just throw it in with your recycling, it won't be taken. And so there's not really a way for it to be recycled. Um, when I first started, most of the strings I got were from guitar stores, their tech shops. When they changed strings or repaired instruments, those strings were just going in the garbage. And so they started saving them for me. I would go pick them up, and I was working with independent music stores here in Edmonton, where I am. And then it kind of grew. Musicians do send me strings. I get a lot of commission work from musician strings or like amateur musicians, more well-known musicians. So they'll send me their strings maybe for a special piece or a gift, and I'll make jewelry out of those strings. Or sometimes it's for a memorial piece. The family will send me strings of someone who's passed away, and then I'll make jewelry for the family. And it's a really lasting heirloom for them that they feel really connected with something that their loved one was passionate about. And in fact, the piano strings I have right now came from a family in Saskatoon. They were refurbishing or taking apart the grandmother's piano. It didn't really function well as a piano anymore. And they heard about me and they sent all of the strings from the piano, which is a lot. And I made a collection of jewelry for their family last Christmas. And those are still the strings that I'm using for the piano pieces right now.
That's amazing. And that sort of brings me to my next question, which the way I found out about you was through the Honens competition. I was following the Honens competition and then I saw you as a vendor and so I, started checking out your pieces and I saw that you were making jewelry out of piano strings. So, what is your relationship with the Honens competition that you've been able to sell at music competitions? That's so neat.
That's a really it's a good question. It kind of just happened. Um, so one of the organizers for that competition found me online, and they were looking for piano string jewelry and hadn't found anything that really stood up um, to the level that they were looking for. Like it's an international competition. People are coming from all over the world. It's well renowned, and they were looking for something that was, at the level of their competition. So they found me and invited me to come and have my jewelry at the finals for the competition, and it added to the patron experience. And it was just a really wonderful experience and a great addition to the competition. And I've done similar things like that. I've worked with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra, the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra, where I've taken strings that are from the musicians in the orchestra and made pieces specifically out of their strings, and then had their photo in the piece and sold those at the concerts to the symphony patrons, and then donated a portion back to their fundraising organizations for each of those orchestras. So there's been a little bit of that, working with larger organizations in that way as well.
That's so fun. Can you tell us about some of the pieces that you have been creating this season?
Yes, I have a few pieces here well, I have everything here with me in my studio. Um, I'll show you one of the pieces that I was doing for the Honens competition. So I hope you can see, this is a piano
Oh, yes.
string pendant,
Yeah.
and that's the piano string, and it's been shaped and polished. This is what the piano string looks like. So piano string, it has a steel core. It's a very thick steel core, and then it's wound with copper. And it's actually a very difficult string to work with because it's very stiff. And so this is the finished product for one of those pieces. And then this one's on a white gold chain.
Beautiful.
And then this is a guitar string necklace, and it's actually the one that I am also wearing today, that I wear most days. And this is a heart, and I'm not sure if you can see, it's two-toned. So it has a yellow and a rose gold colored string. And so the yellow string is high carbon steel with a brass wrap around it. And then the rose gold color one has a phosphor bronze wrap. And those are the actual colors of the string. A lot of people ask me, do I plate them? How do I get the color? But these are the color. Like this is the real thing. When they're polished and finished, then um, you can really see the color. This is flattened, this piece, the actual
Yeah.
string.
Oh, it's
I'll show
beautiful.
you a piece. Thank you. I'll show you a piece I'm actually shipping today, but it's a very special one, and it's kind of the first one I've done. Like I make rings, and this is an
Oh,
electric guitar string ring, but this one is on 18 karat solid gold. And so
wow.
this one, I think it is going to be a wedding band. Like it's a surprise. So but that one's
Beautiful.
going off, and it was, so I do a lot of wedding bands and special commissions like that. And then earrings, this is just a little guitar string
Oh,
knot.
beautiful.
So it goes from something small like that to something that can be a lot bigger and dramatic, like this guitar string one.
The
It's
earrings.
kind of it's kind of
Yes.
diamond shapes. And the nice thing about it is it's very light. All of the string is very light, so these aren't going to pull your earlobes down.
Right.
And and then I also make pieces for men. That's significant side of what I do. And this is one of the bracelets that's very popular. I hardly ever have these in stock, but it's a Celtic knot woven out of electric
Nice.
guitar string on
Ooh.
black leather. And then the way the clasp works, it's adjustable. So
Mhm.
it could be moved into the different hole, or here we go, into the different holes. And I sell a lot of these to both men and women. It's just really
They're
fun
so
and
fun. Yeah.
easy to wear.
Do you have a particular piece that you're like, "I love making X," or do you love it all?
Oh, I don't make anything I don't love.
Yeah.
So I'm just very fortunate that other people like what I like, or the end product is something other people like as well. Let me see. I think there's pieces I love making because they're easier to make, and then
Mhm.
there's pieces I love making because they're more complicated and it's difficult, but the end result is more spectacular. So it varies.
That's I mean, that's understandable in the world that I'm in music, it's hard to pick your favorite piece because there are pieces that you love to play because they're easy and they feel good, and then there are pieces that you love to play because you worked so freaking hard on them.
There is one piece that I designed for the Honens competition, and I hadn't done this before, and it is hard to make. Um, and it's a bracelet with an inline piano string.
Oh,
So this
yes.
is a piece of piano string, and this is the natural shape of it. It's not shaped, and then it's on white gold, and I do them on rose gold as well. It's hard to
Beautiful.
put on with, but anyway, and then it's just a very, very simple bracelet, and there's a
Yes.
necklace like this too with the bar. So
Oh,
that
nice.
was yeah, that's one of my current favorites, and I think it's because I just made it, but
Yeah. Oh,
I think
it's
it's always like
beautiful.
that.
Yeah, you have beautiful work. Are there materials that you find harder to work? Like, are the guitar strings easier than the piano strings, or are there materials that are harder or easier to work with?
Absolutely. Uh, and it depends on the composition of the string because they're mixed metal, because I'm dealing with the core and then whatever's around the core.
Mm.
So the piano string is really challenging, mostly because of how thick it is. It's a very thick core, and then it's a thick material wrapped around, and that material on the outside, which is copper, has a much lower melting point than the inside. And so it's, figuring out how to work with the different mixed metals. Guitar strings as well, like some of them, the phosphor bronze are much easier to work with than the electric strings, the nickel wrapped electric strings or nickel wrapped bass strings, but everybody loves electric guitar strings. So, so I keep working with it.
Yeah.
And then classical instruments like the violin string, cello string, they have their own challenges. They're completely different makeup and
Mm.
have their own, yeah, they're difficult to work with in their own way as well. So, but that's one of the things I enjoy is that challenge.
It's the creativity aspect of how to figure out how to
Hmm.
make the thing that you want to make. Yeah. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on. Is there anything you want to share with us before we wrap up?
A lot of people think that this jewelry is great for musicians, but it's actually most of my customers are not musicians. They love music, they love unique jewelry, they love the story behind it and the emotional impact it has. And so it's really jewelry for everyone. And um, it, there's something for everyone in the lines of jewelry I've created as well. So it's not just for musicians, although it is great for musicians.
Absolutely. I mean, it's for anyone. It's beautiful, beautiful jewelry. I love that you have, and do you have so many different unique styles, I think, represented across your jewels that there's really something for everybody. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Can you let our audience know where they can find you and check out your jewelry?
So my website where you can buy my jewelry is heartstringsjewelry.com. And Then on social media, Instagram and Facebook, it's heartstringsjewelry.ca, and jewelry is spelled Jewelry for those.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.